It's too pretty a day to be indoors. I'm just enjoying the last few warm days of fall as I record this. And I wanted to take a minute and just talk about my story and some of the what ifs I asked myself that ended up changing the way I approached my art and my own experience as an artist. It was really a pivotal change that I feel like everything else kind of sprang out of. Before this turning point in my art practice, I would consider myself to have been a product oriented artist. I was only defined only as good as my next painting, and I really hoped that maybe one day I would be good enough to call myself an artist, good enough to be proud of the art I was making, good enough to make a perfect painting with no mistakes in it. Maybe to be good enough that I didn't have that secret shame that somebody would see and notice the mistakes that I had tried to conceal in my painting. And my art reflected all of these emotions, all of that mixture of a girl who wanted to make art, but really was bound up in so much anxiety about my worth, about the value of my work, a lot of rigidity in what I believed would make what would look like good art for me. And it's interesting because when we talk about wanting to make good art, I think for myself at least, I never really analyzed what I mean by good art. What makes a good painting? I just kind of felt like I would know it when I saw it, and or maybe that good art would be something that would reflect the image in my head, an image that was always incomplete and unformed. So the question is then, if that was how I started out, then what changed for me? And I think about two things that kind of were pivotal there, or really one thing maybe, and that is I experienced rejection. I had been entering shows, wanting to be good enough meant that I was entering competitions and shows in my local art community. I was putting art up for sale, and I wasn't getting the recognition or the response from my art that I had hoped for. I began also, as I grew in skill, to recognize that there were flaws in my work. In this goal of trying to make a perfect painting, I was falling short. Um, and some of those flaws in my work, they limited the dynamics of my art. It didn't just stand out when it was hung on the wall beside other paintings. It didn't compare to others in the impact it was making. And that growing knowledge of technique made me realize that maybe I was falling short in how my art reflected some of the qualities that were considered to be characteristic of good art. And maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe I wouldn't ever be good enough. As I recognized that people were apathetic about what my work, and maybe that wasn't going to change. Maybe my art never would stand out or be recognized. Maybe my best efforts weren't creating standout work, and that led me to think a couple of big what ifs. And this is where I found some freedom and things started to change for me. One big what if was what if? What if I never became a good enough artist to gain the recognition that I'd been seeking, that validation I'd been hoping for? And if that was the case, what if I stopped then trying to impress other people and simply made art for myself to make me happy? And I think we think about rejection as a negative thing, but for me, there was a real sense of release in these two big what ifs, these ideas. Yes, it stung to give up on my goal, on that dream that I had hoped for, but it freed me to pursue a new goal, that of making art to make me happy regardless of other people's opinions. And so that was the first turning point. Rejection made a difference for me. I needed to be rejected in order to be released from that need for other people's approval. And the second turning point for me came, I think, through the advent of the internet. Prior to that, most of my exposure to art came through either community artists or through the books and magazines that I had access to in my local library, the magazine subscriptions that I had. And when I got internet in my home, and could look at research art every day, really. Look at other artists' work, study other artists. Um, it opened up new opportunities for me to just expand what I could see was possible in art. And I didn't have to wait for a new book or magazine issue. I could stumble across an artist and be completely immersed in their work if I was interested in it. And I think this was important because I think a lot of times the loud artists get the most recognition. The ones who are making big statements, have a bold presence. Um, they're pushing themselves out there in an aggressive or assertive way. And, that's not who I am. And so that's not an ethic or a way of making and sharing art that I resonate with. So I began then with the internet to be able to find artists who painted from a value system that I could relate to. Um, it was really amazing to realize that beyond those outspoken, in your face, kind of bold artists, there was also a group of artists who were quietly pursuing art out of passion and curiosity and a sense of wonder. They were more introspective, more gentle, more trusting in their approach to their chosen medium. Artists who, instead of stating facts, they were asking questions and just indulging their love of the medium and their curiosity about the world and about ideas. And I could relate to this, and it made me wonder, what if I did that? What if I poured my love of watercolor just out onto the page and really was more free to show my own kind of introspective nature, my gentle love of what I was creating. What if I left more unsaid and trusted that people would understand me even if my work whispered instead of shouting? And what would that look like for my paintings? This idea of asking what if in that way became a door that opened up possibilities. It gave me permission to be myself. What if gave me room to explore, and it helped me to find my own path into true artistic freedom. I didn't have to fit anyone else's expectations. It felt like I had room to breathe, and it gave me room to grow. And so as I tell my story, I guess I'd like to close by asking, what about you? Um, what limitations are you feeling? And are you asking what if? Um, can you trust yourself to find your own path? One that resonates deeply, one that shows who you are, one that's inspired by artists like you instead of feeling constrained by artists doing things that you couldn't possibly fit into. There is a place for everyone in art. I think art should be the most inclusive thing in the world. And when we start asking what if, it gives us room to be who we were really meant to be. And there's a huge freedom in that, and just a wealth of beauty. It opens up the world. And that's what I'm sharing as we talk about being a heart-led artist. What if you let your heart out on the paper? What would that look like for you?